What's going on, guys? My name is Wade with Tech Daily, and in this video, we are checking out the new Samsung Galaxy S23 Ultra. This is, of course, the best of the best, the top-of-the-line Samsung device with the most powerful features and specs. And this year, some of the upgrades include a brand new 200-megapixel camera and the latest Snapdragon 8 Gen 2 chipset. So I'm going to go over everything you need to know about the new S23 Ultra here, but first things first, let's go ahead and unbox it so I can show you what all does and does not come inside the package when you buy one. Like all Samsung S-series devices this year, the new S23 Ultra ships in an ultra slim box that looks even smaller and more basic than ever. Slicing into the stickers and sliding off the lid, the first thing you see is the phone itself. Mine is in what Samsung calls the cream color, which is sort of a pearly white. And as far as what else is in the box, literally nothing. The remaining items are actually stuck in the lid, so don't forget to check there. And inside the cardboard packet, you get your SIM ejector tool, a small quick start guide, and a USB-C cable. And that's it. So here is the new S23 Ultra once again. And right off the bat, this phone certainly looks quite similar to last year's S22 Ultra, which I don't think is a bad thing at all. We have the same 6.8-inch display, that's the measurement corner to corner, with a center hole punch selfie camera at the top, and almost no borders or bezels really, for a nearly 90% screen-to-body ratio. Now you can kind of sort of feel a bit of a curve to the glass on the sides, but it's really not much. I wouldn't even call this a curved display. And in fact, it looks a little less significant compared to last year. The phone as a whole still has that really sharp and boxy design, with a flat top and bottom and perfectly squared off corners. In the hand, the tapered edges do make it a little easier to hold, but it's obviously one of the biggest phones you can buy, so it's going to take some stretching and maneuvering to reach the entire screen with your thumb. Around back, Samsung has kept the premium build materials. This time we get Gorilla Glass Victus 2 paired with a polished aluminum frame, which gives the phone a premium look and some nice weight. Taking a look around, on the left side there's nothing at all. On the right side, your usual volume buttons and power button. On the bottom, of course, the S Pen, which is one of the standout features for the Ultra, alongside one of the speakers, the USB-C port, and the SIM card tray. And when you're swapping out your SIM card, make sure you're poking the correct hole. The one on the far right is the one. The other, I think, is a microphone hole, so just be careful with that. And here in the US at least, the S23 Ultra has a single physical SIM plus eSIM support and no SD card support. The S23 Ultra once again has an in-display fingerprint sensor, and to my knowledge, it's the same ultrasonic sensor as last year. No real upgrades or improvements to the hardware, but still plenty fast and accurate. The 6.8-inch display on the S23 Ultra this year is the same basic spec as last year, though you may notice some slight improvements in max brightness and visibility when the screen is dim. We once again have a dynamic AMOLED 2X panel with a 3088 by 1440 resolution that crams in some 500 pixels per inch. And no matter the resolution, whether you opt for 1080 or the full 1440 QHD in settings, you'll always have a super smooth 120Hz refresh rate as well. Visually, this is one of the best smartphone displays money can buy. You literally sacrifice nothing. And in fact, the combination QHD resolution plus 120Hz is something that very few phones offer. With a screen size this big, having the full QHD resolution means it's about as sharp of a display as your eyes can even see. And I actually think the high refresh rate and improved internals, which I'll touch on in just a second, make this phone feel even snappier and more responsive than ever. Like I mentioned, you may also notice a slight improvement in brightness and better visibility when the screen is dim. The AMOLED panel itself is new this year, so certain situations might yield you some better visibility overall. And obviously, as a whole, this is one of the boldest, brightest, and most colorful looking screens you can get as well. If screen specs and display quality are what you value most, I'm not sure there's much better than the S23 Ultra. Also, as far as the out loud listening experience, I don't think Samsung made any explicit changes to the speaker setup, but this phone sounds really good. You get two speakers, one big one at the bottom and a secondary one in the earpiece, and it's loud and clear and sounds really great. Here's a sound sample so you can hear it for yourself. biggest upgrade with the S23 Ultra this year really is with the internal specs. All S23 Ultras this year, both in the States and around the world, are powered by the new Qualcomm Snapdragon 8 Gen 2 chipset. Samsung has officially dropped their own Exynos processors for now. You also get the Adreno 740 GPU and 256, 512 gigs or 1 terabyte of storage with 8 or 12 gigs of RAM. Now here are the latest Geekbench scores utilizing the just updated Geekbench 6 app. These numbers might vary a little bit from when the phone first went on sale since Geekbench was just updated, but this is no doubt one of the most powerful devices on the market right now with the latest internals. The phone also ships with Android 13 and Samsung's One UI 5.1 update, and obviously out of the box, this is likely going to be the fastest and most powerful phone you can get for the money. Now I'm really going to put this phone to the test for my full review, but I and a lot of other people have noticed that this device just feels a lot snappier and more responsive than the usual new Samsung smartphone. I don't know what it is, but it really seems ultra responsive, and I think the combination of the processor and well-optimized software experience have a lot to do with it. Of course, along with its over-the-top performance, one of the other main reasons to opt for the Ultra is for the S Pen, Samsung's built-in stylus. The S Pen is located at the bottom left of the phone. It clicks and slides out, and it more or less looks like the usual built-in S Pens we've had on Ultras and Notes in the past. It has a metal click top, a subtle rubbery feel, and an incredibly sharp tip for precise writing and on-screen touching. The S Pen is paired with a dozen or so stylus-specific apps and tools we've seen before: Notes, Smart Select, Screen Write, Live Messages, AR Doodles, Translate, and more. I don't personally see anything new or different with the S Pen features, and the stylus itself also has its own button which you can use to control the camera shutter, amongst some other things. Power users, I think, still fully appreciate the S Pen. The S23 Ultra is certainly big enough to draw and to write, and you can also use it just as an extension of your finger to tap and swipe through the phone. And it really is smooth and precise. No other device, outside the Apple Pencil really, gives you such an accurate writing experience. The pen is made for the phone, and vice versa. And while I don't think it's been explicitly upgraded this year, it's still a great feature to have. And all in all, it may not be the only reason to opt for the Ultra, but the S Pen support and all the features that go along with it are certainly a pretty big reason to consider it. As far as the battery and charging, the S23 Ultra is once again powered by a 5,000 milliamp battery. That's certainly a big size, though it is the same as last year. And while I suspect that we should see some minor improvements in longevity due to the upgraded processor and Android 13 optimization, I don't think we'll get any significant battery improvements, though I'll be sure to put that to the test in my full review. Also, when it comes to charging, like I mentioned at the start, the phone supports up to 45-watt fast charging, but you'll need a proper USB-C cable and wall plug to support that. You also have 15-watt wireless charging support and 4.5-watt reverse wireless charging, so plenty of power options to choose from. The last big upgrade that the S23 Ultra received this year is with the cameras, and I feel like that's what most of these phone manufacturers have been focusing on the past few years anyway. So around back now, the main camera lens is a ridiculous 200 megapixel f1.7 aperture shooter. That's paired with the same 10 megapixel periscope telephoto lens as last year with 10 times optical zoom, a separate 10 megapixel telephoto lens, and a 12 megapixel ultra-wide shooter with improved stabilization. Strangely enough, the selfie camera on the S23 Ultra seems to have changed completely. Last year, it was a 40 megapixel lens, it's now a 12 megapixel lens, and inside the camera app, Samsung has once again given you about 1 billion different camera features that make this one of the best phones on the market to take pictures and videos. Now, there's nothing here that's totally new. Like I said, the big thing really is the 200 megapixel main lens, which should produce even more detailed shots, especially if you opt for the high megapixel shooting mode. But across the board, from the 8K video recording to the manual controls to all the little extras, this is, of course, I think, one of the top 3 camera smartphones you can get. And while the average person may not utilize all the super powerful camera features, I think there's plenty for just about everyone to enjoy. And just taking some quick sample pictures here, obviously these shots are going to look great. Like I said, I'm really looking forward to comparing this phone to some other devices to see how it stacks up. I suspect it might vie for the top spot. All in all, the new S23 Ultra this year really isn't too new. You get a better processor, of course, an upgraded camera, slight improvements to the display, but that's pretty much it. It's very much a minor upgrade, but if you want the ultimate Samsung device with all the over-the-top features and specs, this phone, once again, stands head and shoulders above the rest.